So, close your eyes and just become aware of the body. The whole body from the top of the head to the toes. So, in that field of awareness, we feel, we sense the body. But at the same time, you listen to me also. So, both are from the sense organs, and listening is also understood, it is by the mind or the intellect. So it is always good to start with some mantra with a meaning. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. May there be happiness for all. When the mind is always aware that happiness is present in us, in all the living species, we have to simply discover that happiness. It needs a daily contemplation in all my thought, speech, and action. That changes the mind. The moment we forget this, we are ready to get reaction, anxiety, duality, fear. Masters tell us so easy to follow, but very difficult to apply. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. May there be peace for all. Again, the peace is the essential nature of every living species on this earth. In fact, we are made of peace. We forget. When we forget, we try to crave for the peace from the world outside, from a person, from a relationship, from a situation, from the objects. And there we start suffering from stress. Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu. May there be completeness in all. Completeness has to do with the holiness, whole, oneness. There are many meanings. Sense of insecurity, dissatisfaction, unhappiness, all comes from feeling of incompleteness. Craving for something comes from sense of incompleteness. We crave because I feel a sense of incompleteness. So then I start craving for some object and some person outside. It means I feel that person, that object will definitely give me a sense of completeness. The whole miseries of the mind starts from here. So every phrase gives you the understanding and the meaning and the masses, what should be our goal of life. Sarvesham.
Girish,
Yeah.
what is the difference? What is the difference between like craving something we don't need versus like being like craving like hunger or thirst? Because like, so some cravings are good, right?
Yeah. Physical craving. You rightly asked the question. Physical craving obviously cannot be met with anything outside. For physical survival, it is required, these physical things are required. But what happens when we use the word craving? It has more to do with emotions in the mind. So that is why we say that craving which pertains to the mind, which demands that these cravings can be met by any object outside, that causes lot of problems in our life. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Sarvesham, let there be an auspiciousness for all. Whatever Master says that existence is whole, it is complete in itself. And because we are created by an existence, so we have to be whole. We have to be complete. One thing. And because the existence is whole, it always brings the blessing and the grace which is prevented by the mind because it feels the sense of incompleteness, it feels the sense of dissatisfaction, it feels the sense of insecurity. To get it fulfilled from the objects outside. That's why we find that, oh, I'm not blessed. I don't have a grace. The Master is saying when we recognize our nature, we are always blessed and graced. We need not to go to the priest to seek the blessing. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. And bring your mind to the right hand, bring your mind to the left hand, bring your both the palms on your eyes, open the eyes inside, know your experiences. You see, within, just by using the thought is just a mantra. Using these thought, especially its essence, we can move easily to calmness and relaxation. But it should not be done in blindness. There should not be a mental blindness. So now coming, we have completed the first step. The first step says that the study means contemplate and reflect, means I should repeat and reflect that what is the nature of the real self. Real self is eternal. That is the learning. Real self is eternal means what? It is beyond time. It is not subjected by the time. What is real self? The real self, second point. Real self is truth. What is truth? So we define that truth is not subjected by the time, location, any object. So one definition of the God is also this. It is the absolute truth. So when we say absolute truth, it is not subjected by the time, not subjected by the object or the location. That is the nature of the real self. Never forget this and contemplate and reflect on this. Third, the real self is, that is why the real self is all pervading, because it is not subjected by the time, it is not subjected by the space, location. So it is pervading everywhere. So that consciousness is pervading everywhere, in everything. In the matter, it does not manifest because it does not have the right instrument, but in us, it is manifesting through the mind and the intellect and through the activities. So these are the three attributes of the real self. And what is the fourth one? Now, if the real self is all pervading, it is the truth, it is beyond time, then it is not a doer and the enjoyer. It need not to do anything. It simply has to be present. So that is why we say it is neither a doer nor an experiencer. Nor an experiencer means we experience the pain and the pleasure. It is the false I. It is the ego that experiences likes and dislikes, joy and the sorrow, pain and the pleasure. But that real self, that is the fourth attribute. Where is the fifth attribute? It cannot be objectified. What does it mean? It cannot become an object for the sense organs in the mind. If it becomes a sense organ, if it becomes an object, say for example, I see you, means I see your body, I don't see you. So you are an object for me and I am an object for you. So why I say the sense organ can see your body, your sense organ can see my body. So whatever object seen by the sense organ will always be limited. Why? The sense organ itself is limited. So when we say the real self is all pervading and the truth, then it cannot be seen by the sense organ. So when it is not seen by the sense organ, it cannot be objectified. It cannot become an object. And the sixth attribute, the entire Upanishad is based on these six attributes of the real self. And the sixth is that it cannot undergo any modification. It does not change. It is an unchanging identity. You were infant, we both were infant, we became child, we became young, now we are at this age. So the body has changed and has many modifications, but we as such did not change. We remain the same. If we are different, then it means, what I was at the age of 10, I would not remember because now I'm a different person. I don't have that memory. I'm a totally a new person. So it means it does not go any modifications. When it does not go any modifications, it means it does not take birth, it does not die. It is only the body and the mind that takes the birth, grows, modifies, dies. That is the first step. But all our experiences are opposing all the six attributes of the real self. That is why we have to treat the path. All the six attributes of the self are opposed by daily life experiences. I experience likes and dislikes, I experience joy and the sorrow, I experience pain and the pleasure. So that is why we say it is the false I. We have to explore that. Once we explore that, what is the false I, we remove it, we are on a journey. And that is why we explained what is the second step. So second step we have done, I think you have understood, we have to know our duties in daily life and perform them in peace and happiness. Now what is the connection between the first step and the second step? No, let us understand that. So you said that this is the real self and now you are saying that do your duties. So when we are doing our duties as explained by the Eastern wisdom, then what happens? We start dissolving the false I. You cannot do meditation for 24 hours. So you think, speak, and act, you live your life. So masters are not saying what you do. Masters are saying that how you have to perform a particular action. Any time, any action, any thought, any speech, Any physical action has to be done with an understanding that what is my duty? Duty means what is right and good, and I should not leave at any point in my life doing my duty. That is very important. Why? Because I am just minimizing the impact of the false I. And we have understood the word karma yoga. How we have to perform the duty or any action, the attitude in the mind should be changed. Normally, our attitude is of a consumer. Well, we become a consumer of the entire world. The more we become a consumer in the world, we are bound to suffer. That is why we have a fear. That is why we have an anxiety. That is why we react. If we are a contributor, we connect ourselves to the entire world as a contributor. There is no question. To become a contributor, my attitude in the mind should be clear. What is that attitude? And any action, I told you that any action that we do, that is our choice. But I should change my attitude from being a consumer to a contributor. What happens? Attitude and a behavior we discussed in the second step. Attitude is in the mind and behavior is expressed in action. It's very difficult to say, a girl, how I love you, why I feel that way. No, let me find the way, let me meet that, and then I will say to him, why it becomes difficult? Because I have a sense of consumership. I have a sense of consumership. In New Jersey, there were 50 women were there, and I said that I love you all, and the one lady, she stood up. I said, how dare you say that? So I have to change I said, let me explain you how I said that I love you. So when the love becomes physical, obviously it is a consumership, and then we shy. We have a problem. So there the attitude in the mind should be clear, not as a doer and the enjoyer, but as a contributor, as a process of evolving ourselves anywhere. So when you are a contributor, you have no fear, you have no anxiety. You can live, think, and speak and act in the world without any anxiety and duality. That was the second step. Third step. So in the third step, we understood that when I adopt that attitude of a contributor in my life all the day and night, my false I, the occurrence of the false I is reduced, and that also helps me to bring my anxiety, duality, and a conflict down, but it is not fully gone. So the third step, it says that now the time has come to recognize. What to recognize? To recognize that existence inside. How to recognize that existence? And that is the inner self. That is the third step we have already completed. I'm just reminding you. So the third step says how to recognize and identify with the existence and dedicate all your actions to that inner self. Third step. How to identify with the existence after dropping the false I. What happens when you drop your attachment and detachment, when you drop the consumership, your mind inside becomes empty. Then you think, speak, and act with reference to the inner self. With reference to the inner self, the third step. Because the false I is going away, is dissolving itself, and the third step is that identifying the existence within. How to identify that existence? You simply continue to point yourself in all the actions inside your mind at the time. Say, for example, I have covered that in a different way in the last few sessions. But how we have covered that there is an intelligence behind any and every change, and that is because of the consciousness. So we are not the doer, in fact, that existence is the doer of that change. We rely more and more inside us. Something that prompts me to act. I do not act out of the ego, because if I act out of the ego, it is the false I. So that is the third step we have done. Now the fourth step means, what is the fourth step? Basically, the third step replaces the ego with a higher vision, higher altar. And then what is the fourth step? So in the fourth step, what happens? We have to pinpoint, we have to analyze and reflect the binding and the unbinding desire. So when you recognize the binding desire, you reflect, you contemplate, you drop it, you change your desire to a unbinding desire. So whether you pick up the fourth step, the binding desire is the cause of all the security, insecurity, anxiety, duality, conflict problems. It is the binding desire that binds us, that creates the bondage, results into ignorance. We cannot recognize our real nature. Why it is happening? It is happening because of the ignorance. It is happening because of the social, cultural, religious conditioning we have gone through since our birth. A lion cub was lost in a forest. So as a young lion that were lost in a forest, and he was raised by the buffaloes. So he started behaving like buffaloes, was not aware of the real nature. Master tells this story. So he used to run like the buffaloes when a lion chased them. So the lion was amazed to see the lion cub amongst the buffaloes. The entire journey is based on this. One day, he caught the lion cub, pushed him to near the bank of the river, and the lion cub started looking at his face, and then he looked at the lion. He looked at his face and the lion. The lion roared. Lion cub also roared. They recognized the real nature, and he left the company of the. That is what the journey of the Eastern wisdom is. I don't recognize, I can't roar that I am the peace and happiness. Why? Somewhere my false ego traps me. Sometimes my binding desire traps me. And then I enter into anxiety, duality, and a conflict. And then I go on stretching, rationalizing. You have been rationalizing. What if I feel the fear? Your body feels the fear, you are not the body. Master roars like this. Do you understand that? So when you are still attached, deeply attached with the body, we have to remove your attachment. You are attached with the body because of your binding desire.
Mm.
Because of the binding desire, because of the false I, because of the false I. Because I have a fear, I was born. No, my body is born. I don't have that awareness from which I can find out that I am not born, the body is born. No, I can tell you my date of birth is 1st January 1950. Okay. So before that, did you not exist? No, I existed in the womb of the mother. I existed, yes. How many months? 9 months. And before 9 months? Before 9 months? Did the parents pass the consciousness in that baby in the womb of the mother? No. So the consciousness was present before. So it found a suitable medium, it entered into that body. And then we are born at 1st January 1950 and we claim that I am born. Consciousness was already present before. So the fourth step says that understand clearly what is the binding desire, what is the unbinding desire. Simple, binding desire binds me. How it binds me? Through the likes and dislikes. You see what happens? You wake up in the morning. You had certain thoughts. Every thought has some liking or dislike. So when these thoughts are being repeated again and again, and it stays in the mind, it becomes attachment or detachment. Like in your case, you said I gave 200%, so it is the moment of attachment. Because your mind was constantly repeating, constantly thinking about that person. So when you are constantly thinking about it, there's a repeat thinking, it is craving and obsession. It takes the form of a desire. And here the problem starts of a binding desire. If the desire is fulfilled, for example, we have a short term pleasure. If the desire is fulfilled. But if the desire is fulfilled, I have a short term pleasure, so mind craves for more. So we repeat the pleasure. That's what happens. Oh, that food is very good in that restaurant, so let us go to that restaurant again. Repeat desire. So repeat desire for what? Repeat desire for pleasure. Do you like pasta? Yes, you like pasta. So let me serve you one plate of pasta. You love it. Oh, let us give you the second plate. Oh, okay. Let us give me the third plate. What happens after the fourth plate? The same pasta which was giving you the pleasure, now you feel a discomfort. And you will fight with me. No, I cannot take it. I will throw it out. We don't recognize that also happens in our relationship. But because there is a pressure of being a consumer, we forget that. We forget. That is why, first when we got married in first 6 months, everything is so good in life. We went for a honeymoon in Europe and we visited this, and after 6 months, then the problem was we started recognizing, she doesn't agree to me, so I will not say anything. I made a mistake, what happened, why I married. The same thing happens. Because even if you repeat pleasure 50 times, it cannot be converted into one unit of happiness. And that is the binding desire. Binding desire. Binding desire causes unending struggle in the suffering. So where we stop, you just think, I have to warn myself. I have to be very careful. Any thought comes, maybe about anything that I need to buy. I need to meet a person. If that mind contains an attitude of consuming, it is going to convert into an attachment, and detachment that will convert into a desire. So we came to that desire. Desire fulfilled, mind wants to repeat that desire. But now the same object or same person cannot offer you the same amount of pleasure. It becomes mechanical. We become habitual.
Yeah.
We become unconscious. And that unconscious movement in our life again results into the stress. Now see, if the desire is not fulfilled, I get agitated. It happened to you. I could not sleep. One phone call, one message. I told you that I will send you the message. What exactly the message you want, I will send you the message. You should be happy. So you were not, you don't want to be happy with the message. You wanted to be happy with that desire should be fulfilled. I should feel a sense of connection to that person. You were not waiting for the message. It was something deeper. It was a binding desire. See the problem of this binding desire. So majority of the people, majority I would say, we desire for something in the world, whether it's a money, whether it's a man or women or situation or a condition. And through our intellect, we try to force that situation, that person in relationship to come. And sometimes we succeed. Majority of the time we succeed. So what happens when we succeed? That repeat desire is being fulfilled gives a sense of pride. Where is that sense of the pride? Oh, I can fulfill all the desire. I have not seen that pleasure is a short-term pleasure, it is not happiness. Then what happens? That pride in the intellect builds your sense of ego, and it takes you away from the right knowledge of the real self. So what happens then? What happens with that pride converts into a delusion. We start living in the delusion. That is why I give an example. The Bill Gates lived his life, loveless life for 27 years. I got another person, wonderful person. He has been a wonderful. He is known to me for the last 5 years. He never thought that he will talk to me. But I knew from his daughter, whom I was coaching, that he divorced. It took him 1 year. I would say he dares to talk to me about his divorce, and he asked me in the very first session that I recognize that there is something wrong in my intellect, the way I approach the world. If you don't have that understanding in your mind that I fought with someone which I loved before and now I am separated, so it's an American way. So once we are separated, there are plenty of people of opposite sex are available, so we enter into a relationship, live in relationship with someone else. So because that's so normal in US, and I would say everywhere. I told him that because of the pride you enter into a delusion, it becomes extremely difficult for that intellect to say, to approach to someone who can help you. Oh, you're always full of that ego. No, I have achieved everything. I'm a rich guy. I have a lot of money. I have everything. So, and I dare to divorce whom I loved so much. Now, we have that sense of that. That is constantly working in my head. And in order to make the other partner jealous or ex jealous, I enter into a relationship. I'm living in ignorance. He told me so in the very first session I went on, and then he said, I want to fix another lesson immediately. I said, okay. So I was free and I did it. My fiancée, now the fiancée has entered into life. Fiancée has a lot of mental problem, and if I start guiding her, she doesn't listen to me. So I did not say to her, I said, he started the problem in the very first beginning of the relationship. Why? It is because of the binding desire. So in Gita, in the Upanishad, we say likes and dislikes. So I have to be very careful what I like, what I dislike. I have to analyze it. I have to reflect on it in my life. Every day, it demands a everyday reflection. Otherwise, this likes and dislikes makes its imprint in the mind, and then we go on repeating. Then when we're repeating these thoughts, and that repeated thoughts in the mind causes the attachment or detachment. And that brings the desire into play. And that desire is a binding desire. So desire is fulfilled, I want to repeat the desire. Desire is not fulfilled, I am agitated. And when the desire is fulfilled, it gives me a sense of pride. That sense of the pride puts me into the delusion. What is delusion? That I am searching peace and happiness outside. I accept blindly that peace and happiness lies located outside. There is no way. And that delusion continues throughout the death, until the death. We live our life with constant struggle, fear of insecurity, a sense of dissatisfaction. So the fourth step helps us to understand that this desire is the delusion, it is a binding desire. Desire is dispassion, it is unbinding. When the desire is dispassion, I don't see the peace and happiness in that desire. I see a process of my evolution. I see the process of my change. I find myself at ease, relaxed and calm. That is what desire is. With the dispassion, it becomes an unbinding desire. Desire with the delusion, it is a binding desire. Another reason, my friend, another reason is very important to understand. It's another reason for this binding desire is that my mind is always occupied. I'm fully busy. Why I am fully busy? These thoughts are being repeated again and again. I don't find the time for contemplation. Because I don't find the time of contemplation, all these 6 changes. I told you likes and dislikes, attachment, detachment, desire, then delusion, pride, and the jealousy and the hatred. All the 6 together plays an important role in causing the ignorance in my life. It is the cause of the fear, it is the cause of my anxiety, it is the cause of my dissatisfaction, it is the cause of my jealousy and hatred, violence, crime, etc. So the masters have summarized this is only because of the binding and unbinding. We feel insulted, it is because of this. We react because of this. The moment you react and you become aware, let me find out what is binding me to react, you will understand all the six factors are responsible. We have to contemplate and reflect. Every moment in our life, we have to live consciously. Then the last week, this guy told me, oh no, they sent me an email. I'm extremely sorry, I will be responsible, I will be regular from the next week. Okay. Should I have a binding desire? Please come. Normally, in the American coaching business, they send you a long email. Oh, you missed something. Well, you cannot understand now because you are already living in ignorance. Even if I write a lot of a big mail, you will not understand unless you are ready inside. I said, no worries, no problem. We will do it from the next week. So it means your pride has taken over. You wanted to take a stock of it. Let us take a stock of it. So now see what happens. That is the biggest problem. I rationalize I'm happy because I'm unhappy inside. You see the entire mental temperament of those people. Unless they commit themselves, then only they can change themselves. But they are not committed. They are not committed to this journey. They are still committed to the journey they have already done, and they want to repeat the same journey. So some spark has come. Sometimes people recognize and realize out of the curiosity, oh, my daughter has changed, so let me also talk to him. So think of this. I am happy because I am unhappy. I am stressed because of something outside. You have a binding desire. I am crazy because of something outside, binding desire. I am tired because of something, binding desire. And that binding desire is supported by the ego. Ego is supported by the desire. Desire is supported by the attachment and detachment. Attachment and detachment is a constant thinking about that event, that person, that situation, that condition. Binding desire strips the wisdom. It creates the conflict with the world. I don't ask, but you are young and you are still single. I'm not saying that you should not marry, but question you should marry with a unbinding desire. Unbinding desire succeeds. Unbinding desire succeeds in life. Binding desire fails you in life, even if you feel that you have succeeded. I'm not going to tell this guy that by divorce you have a problem in your brain, in your mind. You did not analyze it. And because of the pride, you divorced. And because of that pride, you are living into that conflict. Because of the pride, you opted for a second girl or a second boy, whatever it is. First, let me contemplate. Let me hold on. I've divorced. Now, let me think and contemplate and reflect. What should I do next? No, I'm jealous. You think that, I cannot do anything without you? You see, I have found another one. You see, a very hidden conflict is there. So where I'm going, I cannot do without you. No, I have found another person, another partner. Another partner for peace and happiness. How you treated the first one, you will treat this one also after a few weeks and months. Binding desire. Binding desire. That causes lot of changes in our life. Sometimes we try to hold it intellectually, but it bursts out. It adversely affects our personal life, professional life, social life. And that results into many emotional, mental illnesses. Many illnesses. and we try to hold it, results into many, sometimes split personality. So, what is the takeaway from this fourth step? Thoughts that are being repeated, that thought contains an element of a desire. I have to examine, is it a binding desire? It is pushing me. I'm being pushed by a thought, a kind of a compulsive thought. Thought is being repeated about a person, about an object, about a situation. And if that continues in your life, that is very dangerous. It will take us to a deeper level of our ignorance. Then we cannot discover our life. So, when there is a thought that is seeking something other than me, any thought that is seeking something other than me. So, what is other than me? It may be a person, it may be a wealth, it may be an object, it may be a situation, it may be an event in contact with the world outside. So, that thought definitely is a desire. So, we have to examine if that thought contains or craves for peace and happiness outside, there we fall into ignorance. I am hungry, I need a food. Yes, take the food. No problem. Physical necessity. I want a house to protect me from cold and the heat. Okay. But if I say that if I buy this house, then I will be in peace and happiness, there is the problem. If I marry to this boy and a girl, I will be happy. Are you planning to marry?
Maybe.
Maybe. So when you analyze that thought which contains any idea of seeking peace and happiness, love and wisdom from a person outside, from an event outside, from an object outside, it will not happen. So I have started the journey in my delusion, and that delusion will definitely. Can you tell me how many people are married and they are happy? But it does not mean that I should not marry. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I have to change that attitude, that thought pattern in my mind. So that thought means I should have a right thought or a wrong thought. So wrong thought contains an element of peace and happiness from the world outside. Right thought also contains the peace and happiness. Let me express peace and happiness in this relationship which I am going to enter now. My job is to express, become a contributor. So you start meeting with a girl or a partner just for the expression of peace and happiness. You marry for the sake of the peace and happiness in you. You are expressing that. So even if your partner refuses you to live with you, you are still in peace and happiness. Because you started your journey in peace and happiness. You recognize that peace and happiness and love cannot be found outside. So your mind is now totally steady that every thought which has an element of peace and happiness comes from within, not comes from outside. So these four steps helps us to now remain naturally focused to the inner self. And then we can begin with the rest next four steps. Because this is a preparatory ground that you have prepared the ground in the mind to move ahead. If this ground is not prepared fully, then there is always a problem of failure and the success on this journey. Any thought contains an element of a desire. Contemplate and reflect. Instantly we contemplate and reflect if this thought, which is a desire, is causing any discomfort. Let me recognize that it is a binding desire. See that? It demands a tremendous awareness. It also demands calm mind to experience that state with reference to the 6 traits of the real self. You see how the 4 steps are designed. First step, 6 traits of the real self. Oh, this is the real self, you said, it is all pervading, but I have already a fear of the death. Oh, so this is the false I. You get a shock. Oh, that is real self, you said, all pervading. It is beyond the time, space, and the objects. But the false I says, I have a fear, I have a sense of insecurity, I have a sense of anxiety because of all this. So that is the false I is constantly working in the world, in my personal, professional, social, and the family life with that sense of false I. So I have to change my attitude inside. That is our second step. So I'm doing the same activity, but I'm not doing with the false I. I'm doing with the reference to the changed attitude that I'm not the doer and I'm not the doer and the consumer, I'm a contributor. And then what happens? You give a space to the mind. What is that space? Now that space it is already present, but your mind has left all those thoughts. That is why it has a space. And there you say, now let me offer all my activities, my thought, speech, and action to that existence. You just feel, you just think of it. What we used to do, my master used to say, do you have any idol? Do you have any highest altar? I said, you are. So, okay. So, whenever you do perform an action, have an attitude that I am doing this action on your behalf. I am a trustee. All the action. I am doing my job on behalf of you. So, first you change the thought pattern, which makes the mind empty. That is our third step. Why? Why we want to make the mind empty? To discover our real self. But then another problem comes with the binding and the unbinding desire. That is what we have discussed. So if you have a binding desire, we have already discussed. Binding desire has 6 siblings: likes and dislikes, attachment and detachment, then desire fulfilled, I want to repeat the desire. Anyhow, situation is there that I am able to repeat the desire. That is why the Jeff Bezos done. I was just looking into the news. He bought a 500 million yacht. And long list what he did. People are excited to do that. Forgetting my own ignorance inside. I'm getting attached to it. It influences me. It catches my attention.
But why do people care? Like, I don't understand.
Because everyone is running in that direction. Everyone is looking for the pleasure from outside. That is why it attracts their attention. It does not attract our attention. You do it whatever you want to do. So that is where their understanding of the binding and the unbinding desire comes. We get hypnotized. That is why, majority of the people are hypnotized.
Yeah.
By that news and by that substance that is constantly going on. So in the end, the master says, you should not leave the 2 desires, a constant urge to listen and understand all the principles of Eastern wisdom. Not only listening, but you contemplate and reflect and see if the changes are coming, then follow the Eastern wisdom. If it is not coming, leave it. We are very rational, but you have to prove that no change is coming. No change is coming. You are not craving for something. Why you are craving for something? For the peace and happiness. Once you recognize that peace and happiness is not outside, at least even if you recognize it is not outside, you become calm. You are not agitated the way you have been agitated before. So the master says, study, contemplate, reflect, listen and learn these principles unless the entire journey is complete. In this case, all the 40 steps are complete. So when you complete the 40 steps, 50% of the principles of the Upanishads are already covered at a very primary level. So when we start learning the Gita, step by step, you will understand, oh, this is what I have understood. This is what the change that has come to me. So these 40 steps prepare us to reach to that state. Should we need to change the desire? No, I need to change what is binding and what is unbinding. If it is binding, I have to drop it. By understanding that peace, happiness, love, truth, and wisdom are not located outside, it is located in me, it is my nature. Otherwise, what happens? I was telling this guy who was there. Yeah, yeah. This couple whom I told you that he divorced and he's paying more than $10,000 as an alimony to, and so we understood that in the second step I have to change my attitude. If I don't change my attitude remains for a reaction in the anxiety. It creates a constant unfavorable situation in my life. And those unfavorable situations are known as the sins. We define it very clearly. Sins and the virtues are not seen, but their impact is felt. Today I feel any unfavorable situation in my life, I feel upset. It is because of something I did in the past. The manner in which I performed an action. So we are very mindful of thinking, of speaking, or of acting in favor or in reaction to others. Why? We are aware that if I don't do it, it will create an unfavorable condition in my life. It will cause me the stress. It will cause me the pain. So we will continue our journey next week